This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
On the final hour of the 9 to noon radio show at the Great Minnesota Get Together. Welcome back, everybody. And we welcome into the equation the head coach of your Minnesota Wild. Ladies and gentlemen, John Hynes joins us here. Hynesy, as they call him in the business. Can I call you Hynesy?
Yeah, for sure. You can call me anything you want.
I don't know if I've ever called you Hynesy. It's usually Coach or Coach Hynes. Man, we got...
We're good.
You guys got more cameras rolling around here than Cecil B. DeMille.
Yeah, you're a popular guy.
No, I think it's for the head coach. What that camera guy over there works with the team. What?
Yeah.
What was it again? Oh, okay. Kaprizov, your thoughts? No. Anyway, welcome to the
right,
state.
See you later.
Have you? Not for him, for you leaving right now. Hopefully, was the intonation. Have you ever seen a state fair like this? And are you like a state fair going kind of head coach?
Yeah, you know what? This is my first time. My wife's actually from Wisconsin, so she's been here before. And then so it's my youngest daughter and myself. This is my first time being here, but we've been kind of. As a family, we've always gone to not necessarily state fairs, but amusement parks and things like this. But this is amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything with this many people and the amount of food and rides and hot tubs.
Yeah,
that's pretty, wow. I have to get one of those before I leave.
Yeah, like hot tubs you get into to relax, or the ones that you could just buy here? Do they have like a hot tub, like ride or something that you can get into? It actually has water.
I don't know. I haven't seen. I've just seen the ones you can buy, but
okay.
I'm sure they have the regular ones here.
Okay, now we do need to clear something up. All right, because specifically that nice lady there with the dark hair and the glasses, but I saw it with a bunch of people. When he said my wife is from Wisconsin, there were frowns on many. It doesn't mean she's a Packers fan or a Badgers fan. Okay, is she?
No, she's
okay. There we go. She's from Wisconsin.
Right,
now the complete acceptance covenant has taken place with the head coach. I'll just start in cursory fashion. What do you like about your team this year?
Well, I like a lot about it. I think if you start from the goaltenders on out, I think I'm excited about the pair of Gustafson and Wallstedt. I think Wally's had a really good summer. He spent a lot of time here. He's been here since August 3rd, training, and so he's really made a concerted effort to make sure that he's ready to go this year. Gus has had a really good summer. He's coming in healthy and ready to go. I think on the back end, I'm excited about the veteran players that we have, but I also think when you're looking at Buyum and Juracek and the skill sets that those players have, I think both of those guys have spent the majority of the summer here, so they've been with our strength coaches and have really worked hard. But I think the skill sets that they have, they're going to get a tremendous opportunity in camp to show what they can do, but also probably more importantly, show that they're ready to make an impact for our team. So I'm excited to see that. And then I think up front, it was nice to have Marco sign. That's kind of, I think, a relief for all of us to have him back in the fold and committed to us and ready to go. And the additions of Sturm, I think he adds exactly what we need. He's a very good penalty killer. I think, he's won the Stanley Cup. He's great on faceoffs. He's a high character guy. So I think what he's going to bring to our team is really important. And then with the addition of Tarasenko as well, I went down and visited him in South Florida a couple weeks ago, and I think he's really, really excited to come in and I think be part of our team. And, part of it, I think, was with Billy and I and having him come in as a veteran player that he knows that he's important for us and we expect him to be a really good player. And then, I also would say probably another guy I'm kind of excited about is Liam Ogren. I think he's a guy that kind of stepped up last year and has gone through the development process the right way. But I think from the physical perspective, he's ready. So I think there's a lot of exciting things. There's some unknowns to what we have. The last guy I would probably say is Urov. I think he's a guy that's come over and he spent the summer training with a an excellent strength and conditioning coach in Connecticut, so he's been over in North America here for a while. But I'm excited to see him come in and see what his transition is going to be like from the KHL to the NHL.
Hey, Coach, Paul Charch, and nice to meet you, by the way. It's our first time.
That's right. Nice to meet you, too.
Very broadly speaking, what do you want your players doing in the offseason? Do you want them just get away from hockey, put your feet up, bury your toes in the sand, have some daiquiris, or do you want to see these guys training, working out, staying on the ice? Do you have a preference for what you want your guys to do with their time off? And it's such a short off season.
Yeah, I think it's about timing. I think right when the season's over, you certainly want them to be able to get away and I think mentally refresh, physically refresh, and then as the summer goes along, I think they do have to get away and they have to rest, and a lot of them leave town and kind of go to where they're from or whatnot, which I think is healthy for them. But as the summer ticks along, you want to really make sure that they're working on the things that we've talked about at certain segments of the off season. Some of it's building strength, building stamina. Then as they move on, get on the ice, working on certain skill work, and then in August and around this time, really ramping up the on ice conditioning. So. Training camp nowadays isn't about working your way into shape. We expect these guys to come in,
stay in shape.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to push them. So training camp is a time where, it's probably the best time you can implement. You can practice hard. You can practice longer. You can have meetings, but you can instill the foundation that's going to, similar to last year. We had a great training camp. And we got off to a great start, but the players were prepared from day one. We pushed them through camp, and then we were ready to start the season. So that's the expectation.
Is it in any way different in Minnesota? Because just so many players have, in terms of coming back and being in town, there are just so many players that have connections geographically here. Is this any different than what your expectations would be in, Columbus? Someplace else. It just feels this is such a hockey town. So many people connected here. Is there more and better off season just people here than there would be in other cities?
I think so. Probably twofold. I think there's a lot of players that either move here and during their NHL careers or played here and come back. Yeah. Or there's other players that are a lot of Minnesota-born players that live in Minnesota. So I think the weather, the lakes. I know there's so many players that have great training groups, whether it's with us at Tria Rink in St. Paul or a bunch of guys train at the U. And I also think I think the weather helps, the access to the training facilities, but also, in different stops I've had that, the market here, the passion for hockey and the knowledge of hockey is really it's fun to be a part of, whether you're a player or a coach.
We took some questions from the crowd earlier as we were anticipating your arrival, and a R. Grunder from Manhattan, Kansas. His question is, when do you expect Kaprizov to join?
Oh, Kaprizov will be here, I think September 5th.
September 5th, as in joining the squad, or just like here?
No, coming back to...
we're talking about the deal. I mean, like join for good.
Oh, I gotcha. I think I know what's going to happen is he's, Billy's... That's really Billy's department. He's talked with the agent. He's talked with Kirill. Kirill's obviously going to come back here, and then I'm sure they'll work their magic.
How do you evaluate? Coaches hate to use injuries as an excuse, but just so many injuries as you're trying to evaluate last season and just get your arms around what kind of team you've got. How do you factor all of the injury problems that this team had to go through at just an extraordinary level to just have an understanding of what you've really got now as you roll into this new season?
I would say that I think the first half of last year. When we were healthy, I think you can see the style of game, the identity the team plays with, and what type of team we can be. Then we went through the stretch of all the injuries, but to me that was a valuable stretch because I think you had players got different opportunities. So now you're even coming back this year where you see having guys played some elevated roles, having to do things without some guys that eat a lot of big minutes for us. And we went through that stretch, and that drive to get into the playoffs. Then again, we became healthy. And, I thought the style of game that we played against Vegas was more the style that's going to give us the best chance to be a really competitive team this year. So to me, I look at all as a positive, but every year is different. To me, it's really, we're coming back. We should be healthy other than Brodin to start camp. And to me, it's a new mindset, and we have to really get to work and get this year's, identity and stamina and fitness and systems in place to be ready to go from when the season starts.
So, Coach Hynes, John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild, with us at the State Fair. For those who may be familiar with the name, Danila Yurov, but not real familiar with the game or like what your team potentially is getting for the long haul, how does he play, and what do you like about him?
Well, Danila's he's a centerman by trade, so I think he's a guy that he's a big, strong kid. He's got good vision. He has a good skill set. He's strong on the puck. He's got an offensive element to him, where I think he can shoot, and his playmaking ability is at a high level. So, we're excited to be able to see that. Now with everybody, it comes into a transition where he's had great experiences in the KHL. I think when you look at what he's been able to accomplish there, he's of the ilk of a player that should be able to come in and be a strong player in the NHL. The difference we don't know is we just want to make sure that we're trying to put him in the right positions in training camp and to evaluate him and get him up and running, and then we'll see where he comes from there as far as a player. But probably more importantly for us, it's not the player. We know he's going to be an excellent player. It's just the readiness and the timing of when that's going to be.
Okay, now Vladimir Tarasenko. This is a veteran, and Wild fans know before John got here, man. I mean, you're playing St. Louis in big games or in the playoffs, and like Tarasenko was a demon on wheels. Jaden Schwartz would also give this team tons of trouble. Those were two prominent names in those series. Tarasenko, I think for the Wings last year, might have played 14 and a half minutes per game. Now, granted, he's in his 30s, and you go back to his first year with St. Louis, he's playing 12 and change. But the point being is where is he physically, or it's tough to talk about somebody's drive until you get him here, but like mentally, physically, put the whole thing together with that skill set. And what do you think you're getting in Vladimir Tarasenko? Because clearly he changes games sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I went down to see him a couple weeks ago and spend some time with him and get to know him and his family and his wife and see, he's had obviously he was 10 years in St. Louis, and then he, went to the Rangers and Ottawa, Florida, Detroit, so he's been around a little bit. But what I experience is a player that he knows what it takes to win. He wants to win. He's taking care of himself this summer. He looks to be in great shape. I know he's motivated and excited, I think, to join our team with the dynamic of the team and, some of the relationships with a guy like Kirill that he's known in the past. And I think he's in a great spot. I know that he and his family are going to come. I think sometimes when players, unfortunately, if they get traded or moved, sometimes their family doesn't come and they're by themselves. And sometimes it's not the great situation for that. I know his family is really important to him. They're going to come here as a family, so I'm excited. The fact that I spent 5 hours with him, and I'm expecting him to come in, looks in great shape, and have the drive to play the way that he needs to play to be an impact player for us.
And another name from days gone by, and I'm not necessarily up to speed on how he played in those multiple stops with Columbus. But I remember Jack Johnson with the LA Kings, and that's a decade ago. Holy cow, he was a monster at times. So correct me if I'm wrong here, PTO. So he's on like a tryout, Jack Johnson, and what do you expect from this whole situation?
Well, we're excited about Jack. Like you said, he's a veteran player, so he's coming on as a professional tryout.
Yeah.
And I think with Brodin not really being ready 100% for camp, and then having some young guys coming in with expectations of roles, I think Jack's experience, the way that he plays, right shot, to have him come in and compete and push for a spot, challenge the guys that are in our lineup. He's a high character guy. He's got great experience, and he's a big, strong defenseman that we feel like is going to help provide depth for us.
Like I said, a bunch of cameras around here. My man behind us, I don't recognize him, and he's moving all over the place with like a $40,000 camera. Is Netflix doing some NHL bit called Coaches, and they're going to follow like you, Tortorella, and whomever?
Oh, yeah.
Brandon starts here.
Well, Torts, he's got a place up in Luck. I won't say Wisconsin. I won't say the word.
Yeah,
okay. He's up there, yeah.
That's great. Obviously, Marc-Andre Fleury's gone. Get us up to speed on Wallstedt. What can we expect? What do you think the rotation's going to look like? And what kind of goalie is he?
Yeah, I mean, well, the rotation is we're expecting Gus to come in and be the starter,
yep.
and he's going to be the main guy, the veteran player. He played exceptional for us last year. We're going to need to count on him. Wally, he's going to come in and challenge Gus for for opportunities to play. And I think when you look at the schedule and you look at the way the league goes, Wally's going to have to come in and win games for us. I can't give you today the exact count.
Sure.
Some of it would depend on the schedule. Gus playing, Wally playing. But I'm excited about him. I really like the fact that he's, he went through some trials and tribulations in Iowa, and sometimes that's not all bad. Where players they go through adversity and it doesn't go well for him, and he had some injuries, and he got sent down last year, and that really affected him. But he had to push through that and get through that. So he's had a great summer. I know he's really motivated to come in. He's made the commitment to come from Sweden and be here since August 3rd.
That's great.
So I think mentally and physically he's in a really good spot for us and get off to a good start in camp.
You mentioned Europe. My understanding is he destroyed the KHL. And how much can you glean from KHL to NHL? Is that style of play something that really translates success there? Does it make you feel a lot better about prospects here in the KHL specifically?
I would say that the fact of what he accomplished in the KHL at such a high level, that there's probably some transferability to there. But I think when you look at players, when you go from the KHL to the NHL, it's very different. It's a smaller rink. It's a lot more physical. There's less time and space. There's more confrontations. So the game is different. But I think the talent level and what he's accomplished, when you look at the names, he's in the Kaprizov range, the Tarasenko range, Kucherov, like all those guys that have come up through there in the range of stats and accomplishments, that's encouraging. But I think you really have to make sure that can the player transition from that situation here? Every player is different.
What are some things outside of the compensation? What are some things you genuinely like about your job as head coach of an NHL team, no matter if you've lost 6 in a row or you've won 6 in a row?
I think first and foremost is I've always enjoyed coaching and teaching. The more and more you do it, I enjoy the relationships with the players and the team. It is special. I mean, you have the opportunity to work with the best players in the world, unique personalities, high drive, very competitive guys. That to me has been, getting to know them, getting to know their families, and then the challenge of trying to get that whole group to be able to buy in and compete together to give yourself a chance to win at the highest level. And then the other part, I would just say that I've always wanted to coach and teach, and that's basically what you're doing. It happens to be at the highest level, but it's still communicating, teaching, coaching, motivating, guiding people. That's something that I wanted to do, since I graduated college, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do it at the NHL, and I don't take one day for granted.
Is there, so when a season ends, okay, and the fan has learned there's going to be one champion, one Stanley Cup champion, I guess you can look at it like everybody else failed would be too strong, but everybody else did not get to their goal at the end of the equation. So whether you're getting bounced in the first round, whether you're getting to the Western Conference Finals, not making the playoffs, or winning the Stanley Cup, have you settled into a part of your life or profession where when it's over, you're able to put it in a box, put it to the side, decompress, and then build it up and try to make it better for next year? Or is this mentally a year-round thing for you?
I would say for the most part, it's a year-round thing. I think that there are times, the difference here is like when your season ends, I mean, unless you're out of the playoffs like a month before the season ends, you've kind of come to grips with what it is. But when you're right down to the end to get in the playoffs, or you're in a playoff series and it's over, you're at like, say, a treadmill at 10% incline, 10 miles an hour, and you're going, and then all of a sudden it stops. And that takes time to it hurts. It's you go through a wave of emotions for a while, probably a couple weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month.
Right.
You reevaluate. Then you kind of shut it down and formulate a plan during that time. Then you have to get away from it. And then usually beginning of August, you're really starting to ramp up like training camp planning, things with players. And I'd say probably mid-July is when it really shuts down. But I'd say other than that, you're rolling with it throughout the summer.
So as a coach, your level of care has to be 10 of 10. I mean, whether the team's bad or the team's good, the level of care has to be a 10 of 10. If it's not authentic and if it's not genuine, people will sniff it out, and then you got to deal with that. So the point I'm getting at is it naturally a battle or naturally something you have to think about during the course of anything happening during a season that, like, you know what, this guy doesn't care about it as much as me, or this guy does, they don't mentally, time-wise, proverbial clock punch, whatever, they're not putting in but maybe that's what's best for them, and they're still succeeding. But is that a battle? Like, there are little mental battles I would imagine you have during the course of the year. And one of them could be feeling like people aren't putting in as much time as you.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you kind of compare yourself to other people. What I find, challenging, but also really important is you have to give the players and the team what they need to succeed.
Yeah. And
you need to know, each individual player, and you also need to know what the team needs. Is it practice? Is it rest? Is it video? Is it no video? Is it a day off? Do you have to give them a shot and get them going again? Like, you have to have the feel and the communication on a daily basis with them, because it ebbs and flows. Sometimes the team's going and you just let it ride and it's there. Other times you start to see it slacks off a little bit, and you got to. But whether it's the team in general or an individual player, so I think to answer your question, I would say that the daily challenge is to give the individual players and the team what they need at that particular time.
Yes, sir.
Last one for me. The penalty kill was unusually. It struggled a lot. It struggled at times last year. I think 72% kill rate across the season. Obviously, injuries played into that. Spurgeon, Brodeen. There are other factors here. Do you feel like that's something that just gets better when we got the right people on the ice, or is that something you're specifically looking to address and improve coming into this season?
No, it's something we want to address and improve. Some things. I think that we have to have more pressure. I think it's important that we've got to be when we get a team on the run, we got to stay on the run. Mm-hmm. We got to have good pressure, deny the entry. One big thing too is we have to be better on faceoffs. Yeah. Like, when you lose a faceoff on the penalty kill, the power play automatically starts on offense, and they can get right into their setup. Where if you can win the faceoff, get a clear, they got to break out, maybe you disrupt the breakout. We've got to be able to eat more minutes on the penalty kill where it's not us in zone trying to defend.
Faber's a monster. Brock Faber is a machine, clearly. And there seem to be some circumstantial situations for you, whether it's injuries or whatever, nearing the end of the year and in the postseason, where it must be nice to have a player that you can put a lot on, and for the most part, they're going to come through. I mean, that could mean like his minutes in some of these games at the end. It was unbelievable, and for the most part, I would guess he came through. But how do you differentiate between I got to put a ton on him and it's going to be abnormal from a minute standpoint, and noticing if he gets tired or if he wears down a little bit? Because you can do 8 or 9 things well in those circumstances, but if the 1 or 2 things that you don't do well because you're tired, that could end the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. Brock's obviously a horse, as you said, I think, from a physical perspective. But, I think one of the things, we ran into some injury trouble. But I had a discussion with Brock at the end of the year. And, when he's playing his best, he's hard to play against. He's a shutdown D. He's physical. He's fast. He can skate. So, we're going to work together to try to make sure that we get the minutes that are going to give him the best chance to be elite at what he can be elite at.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times where it's going to be a little bit high. I would say last year was a little bit too high at times for him.
Nearing the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, but the other part of that, too, is having maybe some guys step up and our depth a little bit better. But I do think it's something that he and I talked about at the end of the year of how can he be consistently his best. And some of that does come into ice time at certain times.
Does Boyum take heat off him? In any way? Or does Zeev, how does his role perhaps help Brock?
Well, I think if Zeev comes in and plays the way that he can play, he's a power play defenseman.
Yeah.
So if you look at the way we had to use the guys last year, it was either Spurgeon or Fabes were on the top power play. Usually the top power play is a minute 15 if they're controlling the ice. So if you take that on Brock's ice time, and if Zeev can take that over and produce and be a strong power play player, Juracek's another guy that's a strong power play player. So maybe it alleviates some of the work for a Spurgeon or a Faber who can have, they should be dynamic penalty killers, playing against top lines, things like that. So I think with the dynamic of the team, it sets up where we can do that. But again, as I always say, it's going to come down to the performance of the players and them showing us that they're ready to take that on.
Spectacular as usual. Good seeing you, Coach.
All right, see you, buddy. Thank you.
Join the radio show weekly during the season if you get a chance again, okay?
Thank you. Enjoy.
John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild, back after this.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney-designed, state-specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control, without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Segments to go, 9 to noon, live from the Minnesota State Fair. Nordo here with you, Charch in PA as well. And I suppose since we have you here, Charch, and again, you moved to Utah, you basically still live here. I don't even believe necessarily.
It's all a ruse.
You Google imaged and found a picture of what you're lying about as your backyard. But all the same, we do something called Vikes Bites, 9 to noon, which is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. You can shop online. Box of meat shows up at your doorstep. You can go to a Coburn's, a Kowalski's, a local co-op. They're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. Maybe part of those 290 yards by Drake Lindsay last night could have been fed or fueled by Thousand Hills, but it's a Minnesota company, Clearwater's finest. Matt and everybody there at Thousand Hills.
Well, Thousand Hills shipped to Utah.
Oh, I bet you they would.
I bet they would.
They actually they're based in Minnesota. Tons of product here, but I think they're expanding. Like they're growing. Terrific product, nutrient dense. I'm going to say something. It's regenerative agriculture. Just don't ask me what that means. Apparently, it's a good thing.
Self-sustaining. Okay,
it's a terrific product.
Okay.
With all of that said, loving the local angles. Detroit Lakes go crazy. Adam Thielen returns to the Minnesota Vikings. So whether it's just the combination of the team factor and how he plays into this, the return of Adam Thielen, maybe there's a fantasy bent to it as you have as well. What do you think? AT19's back.
The thing that I really want to emphasize to listeners that don't know, Adam Thielen in the second half of last year, when everything flipped for the Panthers, Bryce Young started playing really well. Yeah. Suddenly they're in close games against good teams, and then they start winning games against bad teams, and then they start winning games against pretty good teams, and everything flipped for the Panthers. Thielen was great. He was making circus catches. He had a catch on the left sideline that 10 players in the league could make. He had a catch in the back of the end zone that 10 players could make. That's it. He was on fire. Finished second half of the season, Pro Football Focus's wide receiver 11. I mean, it was, Thielen had so much left in the tank. It was great to see last year. And unless in the intervening 6 months, it's all fallen off a cliff for him at age 35, I still think Thielen's is going to be really, really helpful for this offense. And just excited to see that it could work out. Yeah, we give and take some day 3 picks.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. We get a guy here who can immediately help week 1, and week 1's a big assignment. Bears secondary was elite last year. It was really good.
And Jalen Johnson, it looks like he's going to be healthy enough to go on opening night too. So they're going to have their full boat.
Exactly.
Now, you've been out in Virgin, Utah, talking about the Bears though, thinking about it. Thielen in the mix, and eventually, if he's your third wide receiving option, not bad.
Yeah.
But Dennis Allen becoming the defensive coordinator there in Chicago, it's kind of sneakily, and no one wants to praise the Saints for anything, but what he was able to do down in the Bayou for so long under Sean Payton, I think it's well noted.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster as a head coach, but he took his licks and he moved up to Chi-Town.
He was starting Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. I mean, Belichick couldn't have, gotten run victories out of that roster, I don't think. Dennis Allen's a good coach.
Yeah.
And that Bears defense is going to be that is going to be a big assignment. And what I think now, with the right to change my mind over 11 days, is it's going to be a low-scoring game. This thing's going to be tight on Monday night.
Do you wonder at all? I mean, Ben Johnson saying the right things, and actually it was kind of an interesting short-term transition of him, just goofy in his intro press conference. Very uncomfortable, clearly, in that moment. And that comfort level has grown, and I've really enjoyed watching his press conferences. I'm just having a hard time, and I think it's part of his honesty in terms of tearing Caleb Williams down to the studs.
Yep.
Whatever we saw in 2024, I just can't have any of that be anything that I'm seeing on a weekly basis this time around. Is that too big a project in a short period of time?
It's I expect him to struggle. I think Caleb Williams, I think the teardown is going to be non-trivial for him. They do have to rebuild him almost from scratch. Caleb Williams was a great college quarterback, a lot because he improvised, off-script stuff, throwing on the run, extending plays, things that don't really seem to fit into the way that Ben Johnson ran the Lions offense, which was very mechanical, very scripted. You make your 1, 2, 3 read. You do exactly these things in order. And Jared Goff, as a pro's pro, was able to execute that really well. Caleb Williams has got to learn all that for the first time. They got to undo the coaching he had last year. So that could take a while. And it's made harder by the fact that he's got to do it in this division. There's just very few easy games for Caleb Williams to on the schedule for the Bears, like every team in the NFC North. And I do expect the Bears to be an inconsistent offense through maybe the first half of the season while they figure out what they can do with that kid.
Yeah, it's weird because you were praising, and rightfully so, we're all in agreement with what Max Brosmer has been able to do. But you think about that transition from college and maroon and gold, and we only got one really good year to look at him, right? No one's watching New Hampshire football. At least most of us aren't here. And to see what I remember him as a Gopher to now what I saw and the work that he put together to find himself on a roster, impressive. But a lot of the basics, the fundamentals of Max Brosmer actually have been consistent throughout. And you hear about it, just the QB IQ, the intelligence, the processing speed, the habits that he built over the course of his college career that made him a guy that could latch onto this offense as quickly. When we're talking about Caleb Williams needing to learn how to process, learn how to do some of those fundamental things, this isn't it's going to take a while. I question all the sacks he took at USC and what we watched through version 1 of him a year ago. Like, there may just be some fundamental, intuitive, instinctual L's that Ben Johnson is going to have to decide how long he's going to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a benching scenario, but it's, I do see a rocky process where there's going to be mistakes. Now, working in his favor, it looks like the Bears nailed 2 key components to that offense for Caleb Williams. Colston Loveland, the tight end, has looked really, really good. Yeah. And Luther Burden, who will work in the slot and replace Keenan Allen, also looks really, really good. The weaponry around him.
Lavelle says Rome Odunze, this sophomore effort is going to be unbelievable.
Many people think Odunze sitting on a big upgrade here, and they already had DJ Moore, and DJ Moore's obviously been very productive for years,
specifically against us over the middle, deep, late in games.
Do you think with Ben Johnson there's going to be an attempt at somebody being the next Jahmyr Gibbs? So it doesn't just statistically and the way you use the individual with certain routes and things like that.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift is not capable. He's capable of doing some of it. Rome Odunze is like, if you're I haven't done a fantasy draft, but looking at fantasy drafts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Off the season he had or did not have last year, I'm shocked how high Rome Odunze is being drafted in a lot of drafts, which indicates to me there's steam out there somewhere that with Ben he's the one that you're going to want to have. Do you find it that way?
That's how drafts are working. I'm not drafting Rome Odunze where he's going because he's being drafted as though he's absolutely going to take a massive sophomore jump, and he's being drafted at like the highest possible outcome that he could have.
Yep.
And as we were just talking about, if you think Caleb Williams is going to be inconsistent trying to digest this new offense, I don't think it's fair to think that he's going to live up to his current draft position, which is like wide receiver 35.
Wow.
Out of 32 teams. It's just to me, it's too high, and so many mouths to feed in that offense. You mentioned the running game. This is where the Vikings and how the Vikings win on Monday night is this team could be, they don't have a capable runner right now. DeAndre Swift's not that guy. Last year, dead last in avoided tackle rate, near the very bottom in yards after contact. I mean,
I like how your eyes light up when you get real geeky when the numbers start flying out of your head.
I love it. I love it. And Swift has already been benched once by Ben Johnson in Detroit a couple of years ago, and Roschon Johnson's kind of just a guy. They've got a rookie they like, Kyle Monungai, big kid. But he's
fun name to say.
It is a fun name to say. But he's slow. He might not have NFL speed. They don't have a capable runner
for now.
The Vikings are going to be able to pin their ears back. We'll talk about it more on Friday as we're looking ahead. They're going to pin their ears back and play to put Caleb Williams in tough spots and make him make fast decisions in the pocket.
Which quarterback in the NFC North do you believe has the most pressure on them? J.J. McCarthy, Jordan Love, or Caleb Williams?
It's got to be Jordan Love. He's got the enormous contract. There are no more excuses left. Last year, 2 years ago, we thought he looked good. Last year, he had that groin injury in week 1. It set all of his mechanics off, and you alluded to this earlier in the show. The mechanics weren't right for him. Love wasn't throwing right, wasn't running. Kind of out of excuses at this stage. He's got to be requisite of the money and the time that they've put into him. And the Packers now, they moved from 2 days ago, the Packers were 22-1 to win the Super Bowl. Right now, they are 8-1. This is a team that has Super Bowl ambitions, and they've run out of runway on Love. He's got to be as good as they want him to be.
Well, Parsons bit's a Super Bowl move, right?
Define when you describe he has to come through with what? Like I said it earlier, and you can look back at the game logs and people can watch the games, which we do. In the biggest moments, there have been times in those games he's been at his worst. Okay, so that obviously has to change. We all can see that. What else?
We need to have a guy that plants his feet, makes his reads, and throws strikes. He is a guy that Jordan Love will go back. You'll see him rock. You'll see him throw off the wrong foot. The mechanics don't look
right. He throws off the right foot. He just relies on it too much.
That may be the
just
case.
with leaning back.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Plant and fire ahead is right.
Exactly. Those are things that now, for as long as he's now been in the league, 4 years starter for this will be his third year starter. Those are things that should be squared away at this point. Now they love Matthew Golden. They really think that they've hit on this kid. What worries me about Golden a little bit, just super thin college resume, never a guy with a ton of productivity and almost none until just last year. But they're convinced that Golden is going to be the alpha receiver that the Packers have not had since Devontae Adams left.
Our final segment from the 2025 State Fair is next.
Life moves fast. A new home, a new baby, a new chapter. But without an estate plan, your future's still vulnerable. With Trust and Will, you can name guardians, start a trust, create healthcare directives, and more. All online in about an hour. It's attorney-designed, state-specific, and built to protect what you love. Plans start at just $199, and every plan is safe, secure, and kept completely private. From families with young kids to adults caring for aging parents, Trust and Will makes it simple to take control. Without a law office, paperwork stress, or court delays. Go to trustandwill.com and use code RADIO to save 20%. Start your plan today. Don't wait for life to force your hand. Estate planning is one of the smartest, most loving things you can do. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will. I can't wait. I can't wait until tomorrow, 'cause tomorrow might very well be too late. I can't wait until tomorrow.
Well, from Tatum Everett, our first guest at the State Fair last Thursday, through John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild. That is Fair 2025 for the 9 to Noon radio show, and we have enjoyed most of it. There obviously was a tragedy that took place during the course of the week, and
yes.
you're sitting there talking about fair-related things and food and all that, and then like, whoa, holy cow! But outside of that, obvious for all of us, it's been great. It's always great meeting those who take time to listen to us at KFAN. That's not lost on 9 to Noon, that we serve you. You consciously choose to find us. And that matters a lot to me, and it matters a lot to this radio show. So thank you very much for that. And good seeing you again, Paul Charchian.
Yeah, great to see you, too. I'll see you next Friday, and I'll see everybody here tomorrow, 10 to noon, Fantasy Football Weekly Live. We'll be out here, and we will we'll go through our show like we typically do, but we'll also have our live attendee draft. And we set up the mic. Everybody gets to make their picks. We critique the selections, and it is always a highlight of one of my whole year is interacting with all the people and seeing everybody that's so excited for fantasy football season. It's the best.
Yeah, and the listeners, whether you take 5 minutes to hang out in the stands, whether you're here for an entire show, you were mentioning earlier this week when we were kind of sidelined by something that was awful, something that was tragic, but you think about those listeners who anticipated spending an entire day here. The support we get from listeners is absolutely freaking unbelievable. Even though you probably didn't actually move to Utah, it is nice to see you. I still don't believe it, but no, this opportunity that we have to come together and grab some of Ollie's crab fritters and just pack this thing with cool people and fun guests, man. It's a short thing, and all jokes and clomps about traffic and such aside. We leave this kind of thinking the same way every single year. It was tough on the front end.
Yeah.
But damn, it's fun when we're here.
And another thing about which we think, it could be the Twins, it could be the Wild or the Wolves, but generally speaking, this is a Minnesota Vikings and NFL-centric show. When we see everybody next year, we have no idea what the story or the narrative will be from the Viking season on the horizon. But for one, for two of us and three of us, really, we're excited about it. Hopefully you are too. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to Noon today. May God bless all of you and your families. Dan Cole, the Common Man, is next. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening to 9 to Noon. Bye-bye.
You can. Temporary layoffs.
The Vikings.
Easy credit rip-offs. Good times. Scratching and surviving.
Hell no, we're going to go to playoffs next year. I'll tell you that right now.
Good times. If we lucky, we got 'em. Good times.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.